Constituents, engineer, Nice Engineering, consultant, appointment, engineering services. If you want to begin with that, Neil, that would be wonderful.
Sure.
God, I'm sorry. I say that out loud.
No, come on.
Yeah.
I heard it. What we have before you is the annual consultant appointment for engineering services for the utility for sanitary and water. This is something we've updated over the past couple years, and what we have in there is a slightly less than 2.5% increase for our employees over the course of the next year.
Okay, and this is for the year 2021, right? For
2021,
12
yes.
months?
All
Okay.
terms and conditions are consistent with what we've had over the past 11 years
Whatever.
that we reviewed with your attorney.
Okay, very good. Anybody else, any comments on this?
Too expensive, but that's fine.
But we have,
Absolutely agree.
if we could have a motion then to approve the proposal from Nice Engineering.
And I have you sign it and Jen attest to it.
Yes,
I make that motion.
that I sign it and Jen attests to it. Very good.
I'll second.
Who made the motion? Oh,
Bob
Bob,
made
I'm
the
sorry,
motion.
I'm sorry, Bob. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Who seconded the?
Julie did.
Julie?
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer,
Yeah.
Ooh,
Colleen Schubin,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Richard Sharp.
yes, motion carries
Gotta keep you honest, Neil.
7 and
I want to say thank you very much. It's a
Maybe,
pleasure to serve the town, and it's always entertaining working with Tim and the staff and of course the council.
Is it really that much of a pleasure, Neil?
It is,
Yeah.
and David 98.5% of the time.
I know that's wrong.
Do you take the over or the under?
The other way, 98.5%.
I take the under.
Thank you. For
You may-
the updates, we have West Side Interceptor, we have Project 1 and 2. No updates on Project 1. The project is going through the property acquisition phase. We are current on our CSX permit. Jill checked into that last week, 5 years on that, so we're in fine shape. The item permit, if we do end up in a situation where we need to renew it, which is currently in place through, I believe, May 15th of 2021, we'll do that at that time. And phase 2, we've started surveying that. We've acquired all of the property and plat documentation. NIPSCO has prepared and provided us with all of their utility locates in that corridor from 159th and Klein Avenue through 155th and Parish. And we're moving forward with completion to be 120 days from the last meeting. The East Side Sanitary Sewer, we're proceeding on the rehab for the manholes and the sanitary sewers, whether they're open cut or trenchless technologies. And we anticipate on bidding that in coordination with a project we're doing in Highland, where we're going to share some resources on preparing specifications and bidding. So the contractors, which are generally fairly specialized for the trenchless, will be able to do those two pre-bid meetings together, and then we can award that more than likely in late March to early April. Item 5, the SSES. The town is working with the Public Works Department on completing those videos. They were in a split shift, so we're expecting those within the next 3 to 6 weeks, but they are proceeding on that. Item 6, the Utopia Water Main Survey is proceeding. We have Emmy Simpson out there starting today, tomorrow, and Thursday, and they'll be completing that work that was approved, I believe, at your September meeting, after we expended all efforts with locates by Public Works and the work that we had done to find any and all valves, B-boxes, lines, and any connections between either the north end of Utopia or the east end along Parish. Those are the items that I have for updates. Any questions?
Neil, I had a question for you.
Yes.
Can you give us a brief description of what the water audit is that we're going through and how frequently we need to complete that report and at whose behest we're doing that?
I will absolutely give you as much information as I have, but there are two guys in our office, Howard, who was at our last staff meeting Thursday of last week. He is the preparer, and Derek in our office is a validator. And those two guys know more about that stuff than I ever possibly could. But from what I've heard, it's a 4-year process, and it's done through IDEM, also required by the IURC. And that was mostly delayed this year, the water audit, due to the COVID issues. So that's due by January 1st, 2021. And we've met with Rick, and Sue Hayes has prepared some additional documentation that we need to work through Jen's office to get these items taken care of so it can be validated, submitted, and that just essentially keeps you in compliance with the, dotting the i's and crossing the t's with IDEM and the IURC.
So it is due by 1/1.
Yes. I have no concern that there will be an issue completing that, submitting it in a timely manner.
Howard was able to find out that we were able to treat both systems the same, Tim? correct?
Yeah.
Correct?
Both systems as one.
As one, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that email he sent out last week, because there was a concern, because there are two public water service ID numbers between the east side and the west side, but they recognize that you as a utility board operate those and maintain those, as well as the staff, as one combined utility in terms of operations and maintenance.
So I think that simplifies the reporting a little bit. Is that the idea?
It does. It takes you from 2 reports to 1 report, which frankly saves time, money, effort, resources.
And this is something we're required to do every 4 years? Is that your understanding?
My understanding is every 4 years. Last time we prepared this was 2015,
Right.
and it was going to be due towards the end of 2019, got extended in 2020, and then they moved it to January of 21.
Okay. But it is an IDEM requirement.
It is.
Yeah.
There's IURC participation as well, but some of those are based on water loss calculations of how much water you produce, how much water you bill, and then what that net revenue of water loss is. And, once you hit 10%, I believe they start knocking on your door and asking why. But I think from what I've seen so far of what those guys on our staff level have discussed, that we're going to be in fine shape.
Thank
Neil,
you, Neil. Appreciate that.
Is it possible you can give us just a short little memo attaching the regs that identify the mandate to this? So
Sure.
we can get it in a file, we can get it calendared to monitor internally in-house and kind of stay current with you guys as you monitor it.
Yeah, absolutely. And once it's completed, what we'll do is we'll send out not only a copy of what we do submit to the state, but the backup documents, the Word docs, the spreadsheets that can be easily updated and modified, by anybody. And we'll send that out to everyone.
Very good.
But yeah, absolutely, David.
Yeah, I only ask because it's not part of the rate order or our ordinance, so it's buried in the regs. These requirements are micro print probably in the regs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sir.
Yeah, you got it.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Neil. Thank
Anything
you.
else?
Very good.
Yvonne asked me to deliver this to you.
Oh, thank you.
Director of
I am taking the rest of the year off. I got vacation I gotta use, so
Nice.
Merry Christmas.
Enjoy.
to all.
Merry
Merry
Christmas,
Christmas,
Happy
Neil.
New Year, and
Bye.
Unfortunately, I do.
Take time off.
Where you going? Vacation away or at home?
Clark Street in Crown Point. Indiana.
That's what I thought.
okay. I hear it's a nice place.
It's all right.
Unincorporated.
Unincorporated, yeah, you're absolutely correct.
Maybe Cedar Lake someday.
Keep the taxes lower.
Good evening, council. Everything
evening.
has been going fairly smoothly as far as the operations and maintenance. We had a couple of hiccups at the Robbins Nest water station, kind of based on controls and the fire that we had on the side of town. We had the pressure in the north side there in Crystal Oaks dropped below 20 pounds, caused a boil order. Basically just from taking too much water too fast out of the system.
Boy, will it be good to have that tower.
Yeah,
Oh,
and that's
boy.
exactly what it was. We did have, it's not so much it is kind of capacity and the speed of the capacity, but we had the computer readouts when fire trucks came and opened the hydrant slowly, filled the truck and closed the hydrant slowly. We had no problems, but then we had other Lake Dale and other people coming and fill, just and open it, closing it fast. And that just creates such of that delay on the pumps starting and stopping and using the water. And that's kind of what created the problem, just the way the system's set up. And you don't have that cushion of the bladder in the tank to absorb that. So basically you're telling a pump to go full blast, it's kicking on, everything, all 4 motors are running full blast, and then you go shut it off, and then everything's running. And, so it's a control partially, like we're looking into. Neil's going to send John Phipps out to take a look at the controls, but we may have to speed up our plans and update the controls in that pump house sooner than later, within the next year maybe. So just to keep everything on track, going smooth. So other than that, they're still working on doing the Cameron when we get time. We did have a split shift for a while due to the COVID thing. We were trying to keep the sewer and the water superintendent and foreman separated. So we had people to do testing and so forth. Now we've gone through the process where enough guys have gotten it and recovered that we're kind of good. So no matter what, now we have
Yeah,
people to
I'm not
cover it.
laughing at it,
We
but
don't
it's
have to worry
just-
about
that's the way
everybody
it
going
is,
out at once
unfortunately.
anymore.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so we came back this Monday, we came back to full shift
Cool.
again, and we're going along, again. So we've made it through that.
Very good.
Hopefully, so
Yeah.
that's all I got.
When will the water tower go up?
Excellent question. A lot of it depends on the IURC rate case, and then proceeding with the bond issue, and then updating our IDEM permit, and then going out to bid and coordinating that with the acquisition. And some of those are hard schedules, some of them are quite fluid, and again, excellent question.
So maybe in 6 months.
I'll take the over.
Yeah.
More than likely, it would be around this time next year
Next year.
when we would bid that. That'll give us time to move through with the acquisition and acquire what we need in terms of the transmission main between the Morris facility to the south end of Lakeside 2. But some of the upgrades Tim had talked about were part of year 2 of the capital improvement plan that we submitted as part of that rate case recently, that we expect to be hopefully approved in the next 30, 60 days, whatever that is.
To the January.
Yeah. And then once that's completed, we can move forward with the improvements at the Robinson system to make sure we can maintain and fill and properly volume and pressure the tower at Crystal Oaks.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Town Attorney, Mr. Austin.
I have a draft water rate schedule from Chris Janak related to the water rates that are being talked about here. We're beginning to work on the ordinance so that we can time it into approval from the IURC with a public hearing here to approve your rate ordinance. So that's in process. Land acquisition for the West Side Sewer continues. They're important exec session. So we need to get that. So Neil can go build us a sewer interceptor phase 1. I have a letter request from Phil Facenda at Barnes and Thornburg soliciting confirmation of engagement of him and his firm for the sewer interceptor project financing that we'll engage in next year. Doesn't have a lot of details because we don't have a lot of details, but there's a firm protocol, and he asked me to bring it to you. I don't have an issue with it in terms of the engagement. If you don't, that's your call, the engagement of a professional. But in terms of the sequence here being a little premature, seemingly a little premature, if Barnes & Thornburg is your consultant, then it's not premature. You're just cooperating in the engagement of proposal. It's a big firm. That's how we do it. If it is a problem, that's your call. You don't need to do anything.
Okay. Any questions?
One comment, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
When this rate case is settled, I know we have to have a public hearing, but I still think we need a public forum so people can understand their rates, how much it is for different levels of usage, what we did with our minimum charge, which is one of the benefit factors that we factored into it, that if you are like a snowbird or you're a elderly person who doesn't use much water, you're actually going to see things a little more beneficial to that situation. So I think it's important that we have a public forum where there's information and questions can be answered.
Mr. Chairman, our suggestion is that you not only do that, but that you convene your consultants,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
team that did the work on your behalf and request, and that we have just that, a public explanation, presentation with people in the room who are in the know.
It's not going to make people less angry, but it's going to make them more informed, which over time helps to understand the business model of why they're paying what they're paying for their bill. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're not going to get run through the
Yeah,
ringer. It
okay.
just means that we've been transparent with the information.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Randy.
Yep, thank you.
JMOB, we don't have anything. Do we have a meeting scheduled yet, Ralph? Okay, no meeting until first quarter of 2021, I believe.
Mr. Chairman, so should I inform Phil that you'll get to this sometime next year?
Yes. Is that what they were expecting, Dave, or?
No, he was looking for confirmation of engagement, subject to the details.
Okay, okay.
But again, as I explained, that was
And we can do it next year without,
fine. It doesn't matter.
okay, okay.
You're the customer.
If we have to do it this year, I think we could do it right now.
Well, you don't, but.
Okay.
You know,
Okay,
that's your call.
but I think
You've
that's,
gotten a lot of value out of Barnes and Thornburg.
yes, no, I don't
guess that's
have any
on-
problem with Barnes and Thornburg at all. Yeah. They're a great firm and done a great job for us.
It'd be better to prepare it for that first utility board meeting in January so we can have everything in writing that we need.
Yeah, I agree.
We've been doing that pretty well with considerations of engagements.
Yes, I agree, Randy. Thank you. Any public comment? Public comment? Public comment.
You're not a member of the public, not even close.
This meeting is adjourned. Next meeting, Tuesday, January 19th, 2021. Turn it over to Mr. Niemeyer.
Well, we gotta wait about 5 minutes, 7 minutes,
5 minutes, okay.
once we hit Call to order. This is a town council public meeting for December 15, 2020. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, moment of silence, and please remember the Wilkening family in your prayers, the passing of Assistant Fire Chief Dean Wilkening's wife, Teresa. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Start on with public comment on agenda items.
Roll call.
I'm sorry, roll call. Thank you, Bob. That's not the first time I've done that.
Robert Carnahan,
Here.
John Foreman,
Present.
Ralph Miller,
Present.
Colleen Scheeben. Present. Richard Sharp,
Here.
Julia Rivera. Here. Randy Niemeyer.
Here,
I am present. Rick Eberly,
Present.
David Austin.
Present.
we have a quorum. Now public comment on agenda items. Any public comment on agenda items? Third call for public comment on agenda items. Public comment is closed. We have our consent agenda, which is the minutes of the December 1, 2020 meeting. Claims, all town funds, $195,264.24. Wastewater operating, $138,451.47. Water utility, $46,632.05. Stormwater, $31,685.38. And payroll, December 10, 2020 of $291,896.85. Manual journal entries for November 1 through November 30, 2020. Donations to DARE from Hanover Community School Corp of $2,000. 2021 conflict of interest forms for John Foreman, Tim Kubiak, Doug Machalk, Margot Nagy, and Cliff Rowe. Is there a motion to accept and waive the reading of minutes and accept the consent agenda as listed?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Sharp. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Scheeben. Questions or discussion?
Just a comment, I noticed in the claims, we've got some facade grant bill money we're paying out, which that's good because we were worried that we weren't getting a lot of that done.
Thank you, Bob. Any other questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
John Foreman,
I would abstain.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben. Yes. Richard Sharp,
Yes.
Julia Rivera. Yes. Randy Niemeyer.
Yes, motion carries 6 in favor, 1 abstention. Ordinances and resolutions. Item number 1 is resolution number 1273, transfer resolution. Ms. Rivera, by its title only. Ms. Sandberg, explanation, please.
Town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, resolution number 1273. A resolution authorizing the appropriation transfers by the clerk treasurer for the following funds during budget year 2020.
Council, this is for total transfers of $15,835 within the general fund between Town Council budget, Department 002, Planning, Zoning and Building, Department 004, and the Fire Department 005. This is just for necessary end of year operating expenditures.
Thank you. Total transfers are $15,835. Is there a motion by the council to approve resolution 1273?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Rivera. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Miller. Questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben. Yes. Richard Sharp,
Yes.
Julia Rivera,
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes, motion carries 7-0, approved. Item 1 under BZA is owner Porter Brothers LLC, petitioner Tim Porter, 9010 West 133rd Avenue, special use variance. The Board of Zoning Appeals certifies a favorable recommendation to the Town Council for the requested special use variance to allow the petitioner to operate an indoor-outdoor storage facility for boats, RVs, cars, and trucks no larger than 3/4 ton pickups, Hours of operation 7 a.m., 7 p.m., and 119 parking spaces contingent upon Plan Commission approval of a one-lot subdivision by a vote of 5 in favor, 0 against, held on December 10, 2020. Mr. Austin?
Mr. President, there have been, by my count, I think 4 sessions at which this matter was presented to the Board of Zoning Appeals and public hearings that were continued 3 times until last Thursday. Last Thursday, we spent another extended amount of time in continued public hearing on the application of the petitioner. At the conclusion, about an hour, 15, 20 minutes they spent on this last Thursday. There was a certification, as you can see, it's in draft. I don't think this is final form or checked off by the chairman. What happened after the public hearing Thursday night in the certification vote was that there were additional pictures taken of the site that were not entered into evidence in the proceeding that reflected a condition of the property that the BZA talked about but was not aware of. If you can visualize not seeing something, but hearing something. Well, there are now some pictures that have been taken, introduced into the file and requested to be included. The matter is before you to decide yes or no. Alternatively, if you would agree that the information that is new should be considered by the BZA in its review for certification to you, then you could refer this back to the BZA and let them look at it again for purposes of clarification on the additional or after the fact evidence. Purely your call. I can tell you that this certification has just been prepared. The minutes of the meeting are not prepared. And again, when I say to you hour and 15 minutes, there was a lot of dialogue in that hour and 15 minutes back and forth, stuff that happens in BZA meetings sometimes. But I wanted you to know all of that, which normally we don't talk about when we come to these types of things. So, looks like the building
Petitioner is in
commissioner,
the audience.
so is the building commissioner with his arm up.
Mr. President, David and I had a chance to talk about that this morning when he and I met. And since he and I met, the picture that is referenced has a note at the bottom of it that there was a demolition permit issued to the property owner to demo 2 buildings. And what you see, what can be seen in the picture, and Tim can comment on it, is largely the result of the demolition that was done of those buildings per the permit. Tim, any further?
Yeah, that's what my comment was gonna be. They did receive a permit to do that, and that's exactly what those photos are. So that's part of the cleanup of the property. Secondly, in reading the certification, I was under the impression that also a part of the BZA's motion was an engineered site plan along with that one lot. So
Just saw it, Tim.
And that's why I agree with Mr. Austin that we should wait until we get a copy of the BZA minutes. I would ask that you defer action on this. You have time. I'm not sure that it needs to. In fact, I don't believe it needs to go back to the BZA, but I think you should have the BZA minutes so that we can make an absolute complete record of the certification. I know what Tim's talking about, and I think the note in here, contingent upon Plan Commission approval of a 1-lot subdivision, was meant to encompass the site plan as well, but it's not specific. It doesn't say that specifically. So I agree with Mr. Austin that if we get a copy of the BZA minutes, we can make this certification more complete to you for your action.
I see. Well, my thoughts are, council, is we have a master plan. We're improving our community, outdoor storage, et cetera. If we follow our master plan, I think that area is residential. So it just seems like in the middle and the heart of our town, we're making changes. We've got a lot of things happening. Is that intelligent to not follow the master plan and zoning, what the future brings, right in the heart of town. Now, we are a lake community. I absolutely get that. We have a need for that. We've allowed zillions of these duplexes to be built with no one having room to park the car outside of, one or two cars in the driveway, because most people have to store their home furnishings in these small garages. But US 41, industrial parks, that's where something I feel like that belongs. So I'm not sure how it made it through the BZA, but it is what it is.
So keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that the property is zoned M1, and our requirements of an M1 property, a manufacturing industrial property zoning district, is that any use that comes before, any use that wants to develop in that zoning district has to apply for a special use permit as this petitioner applied for. So it's not that this is a special use in that district, it's just that every use in that district has to seek this
see.
kind of approval.
Oh, so this is, I was thinking it was residential.
That
No,
might be surrounding it, but
Surrounding.
it's the parcel zoned M1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, manufacturing, yes.
it's the old Cedar Lake lumber,
Yeah, it's the old
right?
lumber company.
Yeah.
Right, it's right across from Smith Ready Mix.
Yeah.
No, I thought for some reason in the 90s, a lot of that zoning got converted back to residential with special use.
That parcel didn't get changed.
I see,
Because it was still an active lumber company at that time.
It was still busy.
Yeah.
I see.
So we have a recommendation from the attorney to refer it back to the BZA and a recommendation from the town manager to defer this item.
Do you want to hear from the petitioner?
Not in particular.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that David was aware that the pictures that were brought to his attention, the debris in the pictures is a result of a legitimate permit that was issued for demolition. I think when the picture was taken, there may have been, the person who took it may have been under the impression that it was something else.
I don't know that.
I don't know, but it is
Sure.
the result of a legitimate demolition permit.
Well, we
I
have
just wanna make
choices
sure
in
that
front of
David's
us. We
aware.
can act on the recommendation of the BZA. We can act on the
Randy, I've got
recommendation of the
another
attorney or
question.
the town manager.
I also heard that this business is gonna be closing at 7 o'clock.
That's what it says in here, Ralph.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If I'm storing my boat there, that means I'd have to get off of the lake at like 6 o'clock to be able to get my boat back there to have it stored.
But they had discussed at the BZA that there may be some sort of a device where you can get in there after 7, but they would only be open with somebody there from 7 to 7.
Okay.
And
That's
that begs to Rick's
That was
point.
my question too.
That begs,
I agree with you, but then when I asked that question before, can I understand that?
Mr. Porter, you haven't been recognized.
I'm sorry.
No, just take a seat. We're deliberating right now. Just take a seat. We're deliberating right now. So that kind of goes back to Mr. Everly's point of deferral to get clarification of the minutes. So that was what Rick was talking about.
Mr. President,
Mr. Austin?
the minutes are going to be exhaustive. There's an hour and 15 minutes at this continued public hearing submission, and there was a lot talked about. That was the concern about reviewing, much less preparing a skeleton, beginning the process with the skeleton certification to you, which is required under the statute. So,
Mr. President, I have one more question for Mr. Eberly. So is this, they're trying to acquire the property, or is the property already switched hands? or-
I believe they already own it.
We own it.
Oh, you already own it? Okay, excellent.
Mr. President,
Mr. Austin?
that's another fact that occurred during the course of the 4 months. This proceeding began at Labor Day, around September, and ownership has changed from then to now, and an amended or replacement application was filed to show that correct title transfer. So it's been incredibly fluid
I see.
in a lot of respects that the record will reflect for you when you see it.
Got it.
I'm hearing a lot of changes from when they were at the BZA the last time. So I'd like to make a motion that from the attorney's request, that we send this back to the BZA, that they can look at all of this new information, and then they can make a recommendation to us.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Miller to refer it back to the BZA. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Sheben. Are there questions or discussion on the motion? Roll call vote.
Robert Carnahan,
No,
John Foreman,
No.
Ralph Miller,
Yes,
Colin Sheetman,
Yes.
excuse me, Richard Sharp,
Yes.
Julie Rivera,
No.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes. Motion carries 4-3. It sends back to the BZA. Would that be on their next meeting, Rick?
Yes, we'll
Okay,
have that on the
okay. Very good. We'll look forward to getting a clarified record back so we have an action item for our next council meeting after the next BZA meeting. Thank you. Item number 1 under plan is performance letter of credit, Birchwood Phase 2, Hanover Development LLC. Mr. Everly?
This is a 25 lot subdivision, Mr. President. The letter of credit's been reviewed by both Don Oliphant and Mr. Austin, I believe, has reviewed it and approved it, so it's ready for your action.
I make a motion to approve this at $140,908.50.
Motion by Mr. Carnahan for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sharp. Questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
yes.
Colleen Sheeben,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Item 2 is maintenance letter of credit, Lindsway Development LLC. Mr. Everly.
This is transferring from a performance letter of credit to a maintenance letter of credit. Mr. President, this is Lindsway Development, 48 lot, single family residential development, and I believe Mr. Austin has had a chance to review and approve this letter of credit as well.
Thank you.
And I'll make a motion for maintenance letter of credit in the amount of $211,943.33.
Motion by Mr. Carnahan. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Rivera. Questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Sheeben,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes, motion carries 7-0.
Yeah, Mr. President, I'm sorry, it says Lindsway on the agenda, but it is actually Lindsway Development LLC is the applicant. The subdivision is Ledgestone. Thank you, Tim.
Okay, let the record reflect the clarification.
Is there a unit?
That's a single unit, according to the engineer, that's one unit, one phase subdivision.
Thank you. New business, item 1 is change orders. I will go through them together. Our change orders, A is HIP scarification asphalt improvements. Item B is town hall parking lot improvements. Item C, Fairbank Street improvements. Item D is Monastery Woods South improvements. Mr. Everly.
There's a brief description on each one of those, Mr. Chairman. And the summary of the change order is on the second page of each of those. These come with a recommendation from Don Oliphant and Christopher Burke to approve each of those change orders. And he also recommends approval of each of the pay applications that are next on the agenda, sir.
I would make a motion to approve the change orders for Walsh and Kelly recommended by Christopher Burke. A is for $50,276.06. B is for $44,778.50. C is for $17,688.66. And D is for $3,035 even.
Mr. Carnahan, would you care to include in that motion, if it's your pleasure, to include the pay application with the change orders? Because you just read the numbers. That would make sense to tie the two together.
But I concur.
Okay, there's an amended motion to include the pay application in with the change orders. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Rivera. Questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheven,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
Julie Rivera.
Yes.
Randy Neimer.
Yes, motion carries 7-0 for items number 1 and 2 under new business. Thank you. Item 3 is year 2021 meeting calendar that was circulated. Nothing monumental here. Is there a motion by council to approve the meeting calendar as submitted?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Rivera,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Sheehan. Questions or discussion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Sharp?
on the unsafe building, we're having a meeting tomorrow night,
Okay.
and we're going to go to a quarterly meeting in 2021. I was wondering if we might consider moving the first meeting to March, the second meeting in June, third meeting September, and the fourth meeting in December.
Rather than meet back.
Rather than meet, yeah, we'll have a December, January if we're going to go
I would
quarterly.
agree with that, or potentially even canceling tomorrow night's meeting, because there's no new business to conduct, I'm told. So we could give everybody December off and start fresh in January, but either one works. I don't think.
Probably rather do that, Rick. Why don't we just cancel?
Cancel tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that, okay.
And I have a concern about going quarterly with them because we've had some dragging of our feet on getting some of these things resolved.
Well, some of it, we need the information though, Bob. We don't have much, we're not getting the information like, a month is just too short for the, I mean, the people that give the inspections are busy right now. We're working on trying to get them some help, but until we do, I think makes more sense.
And
Tim,
this doesn't have to be a permanent change. It just,
Yeah.
it seemed to make sense when we talked about it at staff level. There's just not enough that happens month to month to do it monthly.
Mr. Kubiak?
I thought we had the property on Vermillion, the Walrus property that was supposed to be, Brian was supposed to have that demo ready last month, that got canceled already, so we had that one that's ready to go, we're just waiting for that final step, so that's been dragging out for the whole year, so I think to cancel that meeting tomorrow,
Oh, is that going to be for tomorrow, Tim?
it should be, I don't know that, I don't know that it's ready, but it was supposed to be ready last month.
I was told today there was no business to conduct tomorrow. That's why I said what I said.
That's one of the things that we delayed, and we canceled last month. That one was, I know we were waiting to tear it down to that final posting or whatever.
I'll know in the morning.
I'm pretty certain, I know that he was supposed to have it at the last meeting.
And I know it's been worked on.
It has been worked on,
Canceled,
yeah.
That was more and more.
I would agree with that, Tim, yeah. I mean, we've been working on this
It's
for,
like this close.
yeah, it'd be a shame to lose the opportunity.
Okay, there's a motion second on the floor for meeting calendar as presented. Any other questions or discussion? Roll call vote.
Robert Carnahan,
No.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheven,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Randy Neimer.
Yes, motion carries 7-0.
6-1.
I'm sorry, 6-1. I forgot you voted no, Bob. Item 4 is year 2021 Town Council appointments to Plan Commission. This is the only one we're considering tonight due to the date of the Plan Commission meeting early in the year. The current membership is Joshua Govert. His term expires at the end of next year. Charlie Caper expires 2022. Jim Altoff and Norm Stitt.
Wrong
No,
list.
Yeah,
That's not planned.
Oh, that is, yeah, you're right.
Plan starts with Heather.
Sorry, Heather Dessauer was the expiring member this
yeah,
year, and the town council members of Robert Carnahan, John Foreman, and Rick Sharp all are appointed yearly, so those are the ones that are up for consideration. Did Heather apply?
She did.
Heather did apply.
Okay.
Yes.
She did apply,
And this-
and I believe also,
And it's required that there be a Democrat in that seat for the statutory balance, so
Right.
Right.
Democrat or an independent.
The other applicant was not a Democrat.
Right.
Okay. So is there a motion by the council for the appointment of Robert Carnahan, John Foreman, Rick Sharp as council members and the reappointment of Heather Dessauer.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Ms. Sheehan,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Rivera. Questions or discussion?
I did have, there was one other additional on our list of applicants that would have met that requirement, but
Okay,
I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
thanks, John. Any other questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes,
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben,
Yes,
Richard Sharp,
Yes,
Julia Rivera,
Yes.
Randy Neiman.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Number 5 is the year 2021 Austin Legal Services Agreement. Any changes, Mr. Austin?
Only the date.
Thank you. There a motion by the council to approve the year 2021 Austin Legal Services Agreement.
so moved.
Motion by Mr. Sharp. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Sheehan. Questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
John Foreman,
yes,
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben,
Yes,
Richard Sharp,
Yes,
Julia Rivera,
Yes.
Randy Neiman.
Yes, motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Are you sure you want to thank us?
I'm eyes wide open.
Yeah, it won't be
Eyes wide
easy.
What's here? Thank you.
Item 6 is year 2021 Fire EMS and Fire Protection Services Agreement. Mr. Austin, did you have time to review and to draft?
No, I actually didn't. But my suggestion would be to consider, well, actually, I did do, this is finished. No, I'm looking at the right item on the agenda. This is finished. I sent it to you, Randy, with markings and clean. Not distributed to the entire council.
Yeah, and it met all the terms that we discussed in our meetings. There was no major changes, so it was just ministerial.
I didn't take a knife to it. I cleaned it for what needed to be cleaned or what.
You make sure it
appeared to
gets circulated to the township, please.
be- I will.
Thank you.
I'll send it to your attorney and you.
Is it recommended to approve, Mr. Austin?
I'm good with that.
Okay. A recommendation from the attorney for the approval of the EMS and Fire Protection Services Agreement for year 2021.
I would like to make a motion to approve the 2021 EMS Fire Protection Service
Is
Agreement.
there a second?
Second,
Second by Mr. Sharp. Questions or discussion?
Yes. It's my understanding that the contract was the same as it was last year, right, Kevin? Because you talked about it a couple of months ago or November 17th, I think it was, and there wasn't any changes and there's no changes.
No
According to you,
substantive
Mr.
changes. No
Austin.
substantive changes. Bob.
Okay.
I did put an English writer's pen to it.
You just changed some of the verbiage.
I read it like your lawyer would read it.
Right, there's no more money for Kevin to expend, so the numbers are what they are. And the one thing that was kind of a highlight of this was the fees, the fire call fees, which had been a topic of discussion, that if those fees, once they're adopted, are changed, that there needs to be transparency and provided information to the township. Not that they can control our fees, but it's a matter of making sure there's communication with the folks that represent the township taxpayers.
Certainly public record, and
Yep.
I'm certainly entitled to it.
So that was the one thing that was a little different from a language standpoint, but other than that, it was all pretty well a carryover. Okay, we have a motion and second. Any other questions or discussion? Roll call?
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes,
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben,
yes,
Richard Sharp,
yes,
Julia Rivera,
Yes.
Randy Neiman.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Item 7 is personnel policy. Mr. Fisher, Chief Fisher.
Good afternoon, council.
Well, good afternoon
Or
somewhere.
evening, I guess, yeah. I'll make this as brief
like
as
your
possible. I know
optimism.
it's a quick one for you. I do have Jessica Levenberg online with us from Lexipol. Jessica, can you hear this okay? Maybe not.
She's raising her hand.
She might need permission to get in.
Cliff should be on.
Well, while they're figuring that out, I'll start with my part.
Okay, are you there, Jessica?
She's still muted on her.
Now you need to unmute on your end, Jessica.
There we go. Hello. Welcome.
There you go. When I attended the chiefs training back in October, I reached out to many other police department chiefs about their current department policies. My goal was to, God bless you. My goal was to see how they maintain their policies that the police department were utilizing, as well as how they kept it fluid and able to change as our environment, our society, and our court rulings changed. If you can recall, during my interview for the chief, I'd expressed the need to update department policy standards, standard operating procedures, and policies. It has been modified and updated many times. We have found sections that are contradictory to each other and not addressed for many years. Other sections just need to be modified or updated on a more frequent basis. When speaking with these chiefs, whom were all in the Zoom meeting, I found that many of them had recently gone to a company called Lexipol. These were very large departments like South Bend, or I found out also Indy Metro, to very small departments that are even smaller than the town of Cedar Lake. Our department was familiar with Lexipol as we started using them back in April for online training due to the COVID outbreak. I reached out and spoke with these chiefs, and it was explained how Lexipol staff and attorneys are constantly checking and updating policy as society changes to meet the best common practices. They utilize the rulings of the Supreme Court of the United States, the Supreme Court of the state of Indiana, along with the most common practices used in the country. I reached out to Jessica. We had a Zoom meeting with my administration. We received quotes from the police department to begin using Lexipol. Knowing that the fire department was also in need of updating their policies, I reached out to Chief Wilkening, and they set up a meeting to receive quotes from them because they're two separate portions in Lexipol. Some questions have been asked as to why we would utilize Lexipol with a cost so great. Well, one example that I can give to you right now is President Trump's Executive Order 13929, which was issued out in June. This order was called Safe Policing for Safe Communities and lays out specific guidelines that the president and the United States Attorney labeled appropriate and consistent with standards for safe policing set by the U.S. Attorney. The executive order was very surprising because we actually got told about it during our chief school by the ILEA staff attorney, including the academy was very surprised about it, especially with the way they want to certify departments' standard operating procedures. They were not surprised by the order, but its requirement could have huge ramifications to departments. It was then implemented and sent to the state academies with the note that the departments must be certified by January 31st. This order required two specific items to be defined in their department policies, but also spoke of 11 different items that certify the agencies should be looking for. The two items were adherence to applicable laws, which is its meaning is agencies maintain the use of force policy that they adhere to applicable federal and state and local laws, which we currently do. The second one was the prohibition of a chokehold. This policy prohibits chokeholds except in the situation where the use of deadly force is allowed by law. The other points that were in there that are being utilized by the people that are certifying our policies were termination of use of force, where the officer whom must be trained to terminate force when it's no longer justified, duty to intervene, training protocols on the use of force and de-escalation, appropriate medical care, warning before shooting, shooting at or from a moving vehicle, giving warning shots, no knock warrants, and then it went into performance management tools. Early intervention systems, this would require routine internal audits of policies, procedures, and training protocols, hiring of personnel, and community engagement. Okay. This is what we're looking at Lexipol for. Lexipol's policies already define those areas that I spoke of, including the training section, where officers will be issued monthly training for policies and procedures. They will also have to sign off stating that they know the policy and understand its uses. Furthermore, Lexipol will ensure that orders like this are addressed already in the manual and not leaving us to scramble in the future. So in essence, what I'm trying to tell you is this, is that executive order from the president came down, basically giving us 3 months to certify our policy manual. And that if it's not certified, we're no longer eligible for Department of Justice grants, which are huge grants that almost every police department utilizes, whether it's from vests or hiring new officers or money that we get. So we're pretty much scrambling, but at the same time, we are looking towards Lexipol. Currently, I know from my notes, currently Lexipol has at least 125 police departments in the state of Indiana. I think it's more. We did receive our first quote. The startup for the program is $19,000 for the police department, $11,000 for the fire department. And we did look in for Rick for the town to have it as a whole, which was $11,000 for the town hall to start it up to rewrite the policies for the entire town, police, fire, and civilian employees. I know Rick's looking into some other avenues, but he was appreciative of the quotes. I know that it's a big lump of money to get started, but it would be vital for the police department to move forward on fixing our policies and making them fluid.
If that's the start, what's the next?
Our annual fee for the police department is $8,000 a year. The fire department's is a little over $8,000 a year. And the town's is actually only $2,600 after the initial startup fee. They give daily training budget or bulletins, which they send to the officers. They are actual training bulletins on current things that are happening in the environment or in society, as well as questions about our current policy, so that the officer is required to stay up to date with these policies. So I know it's a lot. Looking for some help to get it started. Any questions? I know we have Jessica here too. So.
Jen, do we have money available somewhere to take care of this? Have you talked?
We've talked a
We
lot.
have talked, and currently at this time, there is no budget availability for this. We've already submitted the budget for 2021, and even with looking at the different funds for an upfront cost at this time, we do not have the availability.
For either department, Jen?
Possibly for the fire department, but I have to look back at a couple of things. But as it sits right now, the police department, no.
I have a question about the funding. So when Lennar Homes came in to build Rose Garden Estates, they agreed to give us $1,000 per lot to be used for anything at our discretion. Was that money budgeted in for next year's miscellaneous revenues?
It is, that was technically set up as a non-reverting fund, was it not? So there's no budget
But
established.
there's
that
also no
DLGF
specific
approves.
use for it tied to the non-reverting,
I
correct?
was gonna say, I don't believe you guys were
So
specific.
since
in the
there's no
ordinance
specific
creation.
use to that non-reverting fund, could that be dedicated to this as a startup? A portion of that fund to pay for that? Since we have issued building permits for a certain amount of lots, there should be money in that fund that can be used at least for a down payment to start this.
I would just have to confirm the ordinance. doesn't
Yeah,
say
we-
special construction only. I would just have to
I don't,
confirm that,
I
but
don't
think
recall
it
there
was
being a
for
specific
any-
use.
any use.
It's for any use, special
Yeah,
revenue.
I recall it being
non-reverting fund.
for any use that we deem necessary.
It was
So
any use.
this to me would be a great use.
You know, I
I'm
think.
still looking, I apologize, John.
That's okay, go ahead.
I'm still looking for avenues to help fund this so that it doesn't come directly.
We
I
would
reached
always
out.
like to take it out of the fire department since Todd's not here.
No,
Right.
no, I think that's exactly
I
right.
reached out to Astra, which is Henriotte's group, the Henriott Group. They are a big part of Lexipol. As a matter of fact, when I actually talked to one of their representatives. He helped write some of the policies because they insure so many people, but they don't give any funding for it.
But you did get a discount.
I got a 25% discount because we were looking at more than one area, on top of the fact that we already use Police One, which is their training web-based program that we're using. We're going to keep that because it's phenomenal. We get a lot of training hours and it's web-based, all online. So
This to me is
You know,
one,
I think this is all good stuff. I think there's so much happening. This is a moving
Yeah,
and changing
moving
dynamic
target all the time.
target. But I also feel like we as a organization absolutely do need personnel policy, et cetera. I would kindly ask that we make a motion to defer this subject matter and make sure that our new town manager, who's still understanding, getting his hands around everything, has time not to go through just this, but also our employee side.
Mhm.
And, or what else is out there, because it's
Sure.
just, it's intelligent to
Sure.
pursue this mission. We just didn't, we didn't discuss it. I asked at the last meeting, you know, we didn't really budget for it. You said, hey, it's because it's all just came down.
Mhm.
But it's probably, the bigger picture really should be discussed maybe and vetted in order to,
I agree.
you
My
know,
only issue,
move
John,
forward
with
in
that,
the most, you know,
Yeah.
business-like way we can. I mean.
We have a motion by
it's good
Mr.
stuff.
Foreman on the floor for
So yeah, motion
deferral.
to defer.
Is there a second
This item.
on that motion?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Miller. Questions or discussion?
Could I have?
One second.
The chief's response?
We will. I wanted to get the motion in second. Mr. Chief Fisher?
I appreciate that, and I totally respect what you're saying on that.
Yeah.
I can tell you that Rick and I and Todd have had some lengthy discussions about it. I know that our price for the police and fire will not change whether Rick decides to go with Lexipol or not. So that's doesn't change what it is.
Right.
The other problem that I have is I really need to get this in motion so that we can get our policy certified by the end of January. And I know our next meeting's not until January. And it's not something that can be done, is done overnight. As soon as I get approval and we get started on it, and get a contract signed with them, then they will start immediately working on our policies, and we'll start with the use of force policy so we can get certified first.
So what other towns around here are using?
Jessica, can you help on that? Any in this area?
Yeah, Lake County Sheriff's Office, South Bend, Goshen PD just came on. A handful. I apologize. I should have that list up if you give me 1 second.
No, that's good enough. I was just curious if there were any in northern Indiana.
Yeah, we have about 100 and I want to say like 140 departments now in Indiana using us. This past year, the Indiana Sheriff's Association, they love the product so much, they got a grant that paid for the product for every sheriff's department in Indiana to come on board. We have about 5,000 customers across the US. And what we're going to be able to do for the department and the chief is really look at his policies, interview him, make sure that our policies reflect Cedar Lake, and then, yeah, help support him on an ongoing basis with any of these updates that pop up.
Mr. President, a couple of comments.
Can I go to Mr. Austin first, please? Go ahead, Dave.
With a company that has 140 customers in this state, 5,000 across the country, would it seem logical to conclude that this policy-making exercise is fairly uniform? We're talking about laws that and procedures and protocols that the United States Department of Justice is directing traffic on, literally based upon your introduction, Bill. And that we're kind of getting tossed in the deep end of the pool here with cost and time period.
Mr. Everly?
Yes, I just wanted to state that I don't have any issues with Lexipol. I believe they're the right company for police and fire. I just wanted to take a look at it from the civilian side and perhaps seek some quotes from a couple other HR firms, just to see if the pricing is where it needs to be for the civilian side. But I would also make the comment that Jen and Margot and I were in a Zoom conference with Bob Ryan of Henriot just yesterday or day before. And Bob spoke very highly of Lexipol. He said he's got a lot of experience with them, and he thinks that they are an outstanding firm for police and fire for personnel policies. That said, Jill was able to find the agreement, the ordinance, and it does seem to say that the money donated was for public infrastructure. My recommendation, if you're so inclined, would be perhaps to approve this contingent upon Mr. Austin reviewing the ordinance to make sure that we can spend that particular Lennar money on what the chiefs, both chiefs want to do. And again, I want to stress, I don't have any problem with Lexipol. I just don't have any experience with them. And I want to make sure that the civilian side is a reasonable cost.
Or maybe since we adopted that ordinance for that non-reverting fund, maybe it needs to be amended.
But yeah,
Yeah, that's what I would
it,
say.
it might have been.
That allows for-
Greg was
for
big
more.
on infrastructure things, so
Right.
it very well could have been, but I thought it was pretty wide open because I was anticipating.
The discussion was wide open, but you're right, there might have been a narrowing of it.
Yeah.
But, so we have a motion and second on the floor for deferral. We have a recommendation from the town manager of a contingent, action item.
Mr. President, one last question, Bill. Is there a drop dead deadline on this?
Yeah, it
For
can't be
Lexipol,
today.
there's no, but for the drop dead deadline is January 31st for the DOJ.
Certification.
Yeah,
Okay.
So we are under a time.
I
crunch.
actually got an email from the Indiana Chiefs Association today for certification to do it online to upload our policy so they can get it in the process. So, yeah, it's not something that we can tread lightly on because we can lose grant money and we get a lot of stuff from grants. So
Understood.
Flexible is one of the three or four that I'd like to get a quote from. So I mean, we already have that, but I don't have any problem with that. I just want to make sure that the pricing is right.
And that's for the civilian side of it.
Civilian side only, yes, sir. And like Chief Fisher said, whether we participate or not, he's still getting his discount. You and fire both.
that's correct.
Okay, so we have a motion second on the floor for deferral. Any other questions or discussion on the motion? Roll call vote on the deferral.
Robert Carnahan,
No.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben. No. Richard Sharp,
Yeah,
Julie Rivera,
No.
Randy Niemeyer.
No. Motion to defer fails. Is there a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion to approve it contingent upon being able to use the money from Lennar Homes for this matter.
And I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Rivera, second by Ms. Sheehan. Questions or discussion on the motion?
Yes, I have a question. Jessica,
Yes.
in the event our town investigates the town side of it,
The civilian portion?
on the civilian side, joining at a later date, all the dollar amounts stay the same,
Correct.
and or we could negotiate separately?
Correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Kubiak, question?
Just one question for clarification. Are you guys talking police and fire?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any other questions or discussion on the motion? Roll call vote?
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben.
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
yes.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes, motion carries
Thank you very
7-0.
much. I appreciate that. I am seeking a few other locations to try to get some donations to this for the startup costs. So I still have some feelers out there. And the other thing of it that I didn't get a chance to mention is our price stays the same forever. So we could go up to 25 because it's the price is based on number of officers and number of pages in your policy, and our price won't change. So,
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Good
you.
job
Go ahead
on it.
with that.
Thank you, Jessica, for assisting.
Yeah, thank you guys. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Item 8 is comprehensive plan amendment proposal. Mr. Eberly?
Yes, Mr. President, you have in your packets, a proposal from Veritas to upgrade or update our comprehensive plan. This is what we're calling the Western Annexation Area, also a future land use map update, transportation access map, early access map as well. They're proposing to do, they would be using a subcontractor called Context Design for the mapping portion of this. The rest of the work would be done by Veritas Group, who we're doing a number of different things with. I've had a chance to talk to Jen about this. do feel, I think, Jen, that we got the money for for this. This is a $20,000 proposal, by the way, to update our comprehensive plan. Jen?
Yes, we have a consulting line item, and it is my opinion, that this could be split multiple ways because of all the areas it encompasses.
Mr. President, I have a question. Rick, Jill, Jen, do we have all the data from LSL planning, like the Word docs and everything that we can hand to Veritas?
We do.
So we're not scrapping this, we're just amending, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
It's an update. Every
Yeah.
several years, you need to update and amend and
Correct. We did it
expand.
in 13 or 14, I think. right?
We did it in 17 with a slight amendment, but the last big amendment was 2012.
Or 12, yeah.
Yeah, so it's been a while.
We don't need to recreate the wheel.
No.
Perfect.
Yeah, we had a small amendment.
I didn't
in
know if we
17.
owned the document or if it was a PDF given to us all. That's good. That'll save some.
Is it your recommendation to move forward with this, Mr. Everly?
Yes, Mr. President.
Thank you. Is there a motion by the council on the recommendation of the town manager?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Rivera, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Sheehan. Questions or discussion?
I would just ask Mr. Everly to ask Veritas to really pay attention to the zoning. So for example, the zoning that we have today, I know what somebody has zoning, it is what it is. But where we have these pockets of illogical zoning around our lake, we should try to somehow,
Yeah, in our
address
initial
those pockets.
discussions about this, we
Yeah.
talked about overlay districts,
Correct.
right? To be able to,
Well, we will not be rezoning property as part of.
No, we
this.
can't. We can't really rezone.
Yeah,
You gotta go through the process.
You can in the comprehensive plan process, but we're not doing that in
Right.
this process.
this is an amendment.
He is updating the future land use map, but that's not zoning.
So you can do zone changes in a comprehensive plan swap?
David?
So that'll be in the zoning amendment, right?
It'll be
The zoning ordinance.
comprehensive plan is followed by the zoning map and then a replacement.
Right.
That's how it works statutorily.
Right.
Gotcha.
And it's how it works in our book.
That's interesting stuff.
Yeah, there's a sequence in the Indiana planning code about that.
Right.
You have to do one before you can do the other.
Okay, we have a motion and second on the floor. Any other questions or discussion? Roll call?
Robert Carnahan,
No.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Sheehan.
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
Julie Rare,
Yes.
Randy Neiman.
Yes, motion carries 6-1. Item number 9 is 2020-2 CCMG agreement. Mr. Everly.
Very happy to report that we were successful getting that grant. A lot of kudos to Jill and to Don. Jill, anybody else I should mention? Tim, because that predates me, so. But we're happy to report that this is the 129th Avenue project from Parish over to 41, complete with some curb and gutter in the eastern section of 129th, stormwater improvements, replacing any failing culverts that are still in the swale, roadside swale drainage system. 393,000 and change. The total project was 786,000. We recommend that you enter into the agreement, Mr. President.
Thank you. Recommendation by the town manager. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Carney. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Miller. Questions or discussion?
Will this project start in the spring? It has to actually, within 4 months of the letter that you have in your packet, we have to have, I believe we have to have contracts signed within 4 months of that. There are some dates that you have to meet, one of which is you have to get this back in NDOT's hands with your signatures, all of your signatures on it, and Jen's attestation on it as well. We have, I think it's 30 days to get that back to them. And then, and Louis can.
I've already got the
provide
blue
you
pen
with-
ready for you.
Well, giddy up.
Yeah, so yes, it does have to be, it's a 2021 project.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? Roll call vote.
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
John Foreman.
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
Colleen Sheehan.
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Randy Neiman.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. We go to reports, town council.
We had a eco restoration meeting. Work continues on trying to reduce the scope and still have a nice clean lake. So they had not yet met with a couple other people, so they're working to continue. We should have a very thorough update for everyone soon.
All right, in Christopher Burke's report here, it indicated that you had a meeting with the Army Corps and Indiana Department of Environmental Management of Lake County Parks.
We did not as a committee, Bob, but our group that's working on the lake, they did all that, yes.
Okay, do you know why Lake County Parks was pulled into it?
Yes,
Yeah.
because some of the land where we want to pump across is the swampland, et cetera. And we're looking at all avenues of how to best do this project.
And has there been any more movement on any kind of direction on what you're going to take that you can say publicly?
We're not finished with the plan, but we're working on everything from the dewatering facility reduction in size and scope to stretching out the project from 2 years to 3 to reduce some costs, et cetera. So we don't have anything definitive as of yet, but when we do, we plan to do a public hearing, discussion, et cetera.
Public Safety Committee meeting met with the Hanover Township trustee, the Hanover Township Board president, as well as Charlie Caper and Dave Villalobos from our Public Safety Board to discuss future capital needs of the fire department and the township's investment in those capital needs. Very productive discussion. The township and the town will be working together to establish a plan and a feasible method to kind of go about making those purchases. So there'll be further reports as more details become available as far as the strategy. So right now it's in early parts of discussion, talking about purchase of a possible engine or tanker or possibly an ambulance down the road. So there's several things on the table to look at, a number of prices to look at, and a possibility of the town purchasing the engine that the township currently owns that the department uses as a way to kind of beef up the cash and maybe a larger purchase by the township, and then the town would own a very good asset that's currently being used and maintained by the department. So,
Interesting. Good.
yep, good discussions.
Good.
Bob, any reports?
No.
Town attorney?
No report.
Clerk treasurer?
Just two things real fast. We received the final insurance renewal rates from Anthem, and 2021's renewal will come in at 4.86% overall. We also received an update today. IPEP completed our 1/1/19 to 20 workers' compensation audit, and we will actually be receiving a return premium of $9,783.
Good. Town manager?
Quick, Mr. President, three things that were at a recent meeting of yours regarding stormwater drainage issues. Two of the three have been resolved. The project over on Osborne Street that Mr. Denick brought to our attention, that has been completed. Tim and I both met with Mrs. Crow out on Cary Street to look at her situation, and Tim was able to identify where her water leak was coming from and was able to give her suggestions as to how to remedy that. She was very grateful for that. And then Mr. Lamika in Havenwood, yes, thank you. That's in progress, yeah. I met with he and his wife, saw what the issue was, and we're looking at potentially putting in a second drain under the sidewalk to relieve some of that pressure, groundwater pressure, and I'm trying to set up a meeting with the mud jacking contractor that she's gotten a quote from to see exactly what he was intending to do for the price that he quoted her. So that's in flux, and we're waiting for him to call me back. With that, I'll end it right there.
Thank you. Director of Operations?
I just have one question. We have a stormwater project over there in front of the Warnoff property that's it's coming to right at that $50,000 price range for that culvert and that ditch and stuff. So I didn't know if you guys wanted us to use our first available stormwater contract or it's kind of at that threshold.
Is weather dependent,
We
Tim?
won't need bids for
It
that.
won't be bids, it'll be proposals. just list.
Quote for that.
Quotation.
Even that day, there was about 150,000.
He's at the number 50 grand.
50 is.
Well, I would say get a solid number on it, and if it's under 50, let's use our contractors. If it's over, let's follow the law. It seems pretty simple.
Yeah, we just have, we have engineers numbers.
What's the number?
We did talk about possibly just doing two in the driveway.
And you're talking about along Parish, Adam Warnock. Yeah.
So, we were talking about the two along Parish Avenue, the driveway for now, and then moving up the driveway and extending through there in the spring, which would, that way it doesn't crash. There's no way to do that in the driveway. Just a question, that was close, so I didn't know since we had our contract.
That would meet the quote
That would
requirement.
do everything,
They
yeah.
can handle
Yeah.
this. There's,
Yeah, if it's over 50, have the people we use quote it under, let's get a contractor going. Thank you, Tim. Police Department?
Council President, you got the calls for service for the year. Year to date for November, we had 681 calls for service. Puts us over 8,000 calls for the year. 71 state citations, 119 warnings were issued, and 23 total arrests with 73 criminal charges filed last month. 251 total arrests, 442 total charges for the year for that. Last month, we had a gentleman that came in complaining some speeding on 147th Avenue, lived right next to Rick. Mr. Sharp, what was the gentleman's last name again?
First name is Bob.
Bob?
What's
Okay.
his second?
Um,
I knew it was.
He's your best friend. he
I saw
said.
you put the sign up there.
Yeah, so we put the speed
I
sign
was
up.
calling Marshall
You'll
Bob.
notice in your packet, there is
Jackson.
a,
Jackson,
say it again?
Jackson.
Jackson, all right,
Jackson?
easy
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
So, Mr. Jackson had that up there. So we put the speed sign up there, that we purchased several years back. Mr. Sharp got a good chance to look at it and how it operates. It recorded over a 90-day period, 8,000 cars on 147th Avenue.
Holy smokes.
8,000.
Yeah.
8,000, exact number is 8,627 cars over a 9-day period. The average speed on the road is 27 miles an hour and the speed limit is 30. There were 104, I believe it was, speeds of greater than 50 miles an hour of 8,000, which is difficult. And the bad part was, the nice thing about this program and the sign is that it actually records the time in which it happens. What I believe is happening is that someone leaving to go to work or at the same time every morning. So we're gonna head over there during those times, and see if we can slow that particular vehicle down. I'm guessing that's what it is. So probably
Cuff them and stuff them. Chief.
good solid guess. So, but it was very nice. Rick got a chance to see the speed sign. We hope to get an additional one.
Yeah,
in
we
years
need
to
some
come,
more. I agree.
Because of the data which it gives us.
How much are they?
Around $3,500.
Yeah.
It's got 2 batteries that last for 8 days. It actually records the speeds going in both directions, which is really, really nice. No cameras on it, doesn't take any pictures, just records the speeds of the vehicle. So we can see the data from that road when someone comes in and says, everybody's speeding. I respect that. Let us see what the actual data is. So we can see it. So it's pretty nice. The paperwork that you got has tons of graphs on there for you. 115 cars, 41 to 45 miles an hour, greater than 46, 24 cars. We had 3 cars above 51 to 55, 5 cars above 56 to 60. And we did have one that reached the 70 mark, just one.
Right there.
That's getting with it in a short
The
amount of
unfortunate
time.
part is sometimes we get people that see the speed sign there and want to see how fast it's going.
That was happening, Chief. That was happening.
We did
towards the
take a
end.
picture of it. It turns out it was Rick's car.
Probably Rich and Ralph would have breakfast.
So, but it's great information. 98% of the cars are less than 40 miles an hour on the road, of a road that's 30 miles an hour.
Well, too, the sign being there, it makes people aware.
It does.
I mean, that also is why the data is skewed on the low side.
Well,
I feel-
yes, I agree for vehicles that were traveling westbound. Eastbound travel, it doesn't show any number.
No.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
50% of that are unreported. They can't see how fast they're going.
True,
So,
true.
so I would agree with you, but that's also the purpose of the sign is to slow them down.
Yeah.
So if they see how fast they're going because they're not paying attention to the speedometer, then we can actually put information on there. We can make it flash. We can do all kinds of things with it to help get the driver to see what they're doing. That's it.
Those are great.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Chief Wilkening, Fire Department.
I don't have a report. I left it at the station. We've been on calls all afternoon, so I just ran over here. Sorry.
Okay. Written communication. Any highlights from either report, Mr. Everly?
I would either ask Mr. Carnahan or Mr. Kubiak. Mr. Carnahan usually likes to,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. I know we've broken our records. so-
Yeah, we're at 241 and one commercial, I believe that is. And our record was set back in 2006 at 119. So we're gonna blow that record right out of the water.
We're not done.
Nope. It just goes through November. And Jill might want to report on the Christopher Burke report.
I was gonna say, also note that in 2018, we had 209 new home permits with an average value of just over 170,000 each. And this year, the average home value is 222,000.
That's just a reported construction value, folks. That is not an assessed value or a sales value. Sales value is gonna be much higher than that. That's just a construction value.
And additionally, they, on the permit issue, over the past year and a half, they issued 194, averaging about 20.
Okay, we have open public comments. If there's any public comments, state your name and address for the record. Any public comment? Third call. Public comment is closed. Our next town council meeting will be actually Tuesday, January 5th, 2021 at 7 o'clock here. We wish everyone a Merry Christmas, a happy and safe New Year, and let's pray that 2021 gets us out of the vortex of 2020.
Amen.
So
I heard that.
this meeting is adjourned.